Hello. What's up, nerds? Today we're going to be talking about Mirage, the new card coming out pretty soon. I'm personally really excited for the card, but it's not like super hype or oh my god, this card is going to change the meta sort of excitement. It's more like the feeling I got when I saw Jeff for the first time. It's going to go into a lot of decks, but not really change the decks at their core. And if a card can slot into a lot of things, be a decent play, but not functionally change how the deck operates, I think those are the types of cards that are way more impactful than people realize. Before we get into any example decks or anything, I just want to elaborate a little bit more on why I think it's such a good card. The only two drops, after looking at them for a while here, that I think are comparable to Mirage, as in like they're just generically good and you could consider them for almost any deck you build, are Jeff, Armor, Spider-Ham, and Mirage. Maybe you could make an argument for Scorpion, but we're seeing that a lot less now. But most of the other two drops, you know, there's a bunch of other good ones, but they all go into specific decks. Think about this card in actual practice. Decks don't run 2 energy or 1 energy cards unless they're A, generically good like Jeff, or B, they're doing something specific for their deck, and those types of cards are usually underpowered because the fact that they're doing something specific means you can't have its power too high, otherwise it'll be like a busted card. An example of that would be Goose or Echo. The reason they're both only at 2 power is because their effect has potentially a really big impact on the game. Well, with Mirage, you get to copy, say, a Goose, but instead of it being 2 power, now it's 4 power. A 2/4 with the same stats as Goose is just now like fundamentally great card. Or a 2/5 Jeff. Or a 2/4 Scorpion. You know, if that card actually existed, it would be hands down run in every single deck. Well, with Mirage, you get those things. Also, consider the different types of decks you're going to run into on the ladder, and then think about what you're probably going to copy. First off, Surfer lists. Just like my last example with Goose, they run Goose, they usually run Jeff, and then if you're not copying a Goose or a Jeff, which would be pretty solid to get with Mirage, the 2/5 Jeff is great, then you're getting a 3 energy card that has the Surfer buff applied to it by the time you get it. That's pretty cool. By that I mean, like, you know, Surfer gets +2 to 3 energy cards. Well, your Mirage gives +2 to the 3 energy card you just stole. So congratulations, you played sort of a Surfer list. No, not really, but still, you get my point. Against Thanos, you'd probably be copying one of their stones. The stones are all underpowered because they have a cool effect on them and they draw a card. You played Mirage and now you have a 1 energy 3 power card that also changes a location or gives you 1 energy or has the soul stone effect and draws you a card. That's a really powerful effect. You know, I could go on just through like the meta deck lists and just be like, oh, you're going to copy this or this or this. But you get the point. Whatever you're copying is going to be better than what your opponent has. And there's a reason cards have the power that they have on them. Last thing I'll touch on before we get into a couple of example deck lists is you get early information. Most of you have played Spider-Ham by this point, and yes, bopping their card with the little goofy hammer and turning it into just a vanilla card is all good and well, but I would argue that most of the reason why people like Spider-Ham is because you get to see what you just did. So yeah, Mirage is information and a little bit of power on top of it. So I've got 2 example deck lists. I'm going to be honest, I didn't spend too much time on this part. But anyways, this is the most obvious type of home for Mirage. Collector, Dino, duh. I'm not blowing your mind with this list here, but it's just an example. Mirage is effectively a better Sentinel or a better Maria Hill, which really isn't too hard to pull off. If you wanted to get really cute, you could put White Queen in here too, but Nick Fury is probably better. But still, it's funny. If you really want to know what the opponent's doing at all turns in the game, you would put Spider-Ham in here, Mirage, and then White Queen. Probably not the best, but hey, at least you'll know what's happening. This list here is just an example of the type of like, yeah, just put it in a deck and it's probably going to be good. This is a generic good cards value list. You know, the Black Bolt Stature, Darkhawk stuff was all over the ladder like a month or 2 ago, and it was really good, and it wasn't doing any specific thing that was like, you know, just blowing the game out of the water and making it impossible for your opponent to win. It was just an accumulation of good power, good value cards over the course of the game, gave you a better spot to win from on the last turn. Also, a thing I think Mirage might allow is for you to be able to run a little more tech than you usually would consider running in a deck. Because the problem with tech cards is that, you know, you run a tech card or a couple of them and you're sacrificing on power for their ability to swing lanes and counter what the opponent is doing. Well, Mirage gives you an early play that also gives you additional power down the road, making up for some of the drawbacks of running, you know, 2 to 3 tech cards would usually have. Now to wrap up, would I spend 3k tokens on Mirage? If I had 3k, yes. I don't right now, but I probably would. Would I like spend like, I don't know, $20 or $30 to like progress my collection track to open extra spotlight caches to get Mirage? Probably not. But if you have a couple of spotlight caches saved up, I would absolutely go for it. Maybe it's not as good as I think it is. Maybe it's not going to change the meta in any observable way, but I just think it's a card you'll never really be disappointed with. And that's the most you can ask for in a card, right? Just give me something that I'm not ever sad to receive. Mirage is the embodiment of that. But yeah, that's all I got. Good luck in your games. See you in the next video. Later, nerds.